Okay, so good evening guests, councillors, and candidates, and welcome to tonight's all-candidate forum hosted by the Kimberley and District Chamber of Commerce. My name is Andrew Wilson, and I'm the General Manager here at the Kimberley Chamber. I'm grateful to be moderating this discussion alongside Jocelyn Treleaven and Katie Birdsall. I would first like to begin our event by acknowledging that the land in which we gather today is within the traditional territory of the Ktunaxa Nation, and we are honored to have the opportunity to live and work in the homelands of the Ktunaxa people. On Saturday, September 21st, a by-election will be held to elect one city councillor for a 2-year term. Mayors and councillors are expected to contribute to the betterment of their local government, to provide leadership, and to serve and act on behalf of this community. The purpose of this forum is to provide an opportunity for each candidate to share their perspectives on important issues facing our community, and this is an essential step in helping residents make informed decisions about our community's future. We encourage respectful dialogue between candidates and ask that you only respond to questions in turn or during a rebuttal.
This evening we are joined by council candidates Cody Courtney, Tamara Duggan, Diana Fox, Craig Jansen, Scott McLeod, William Crow, and Christopher Millen. If I said any of those wrong, I'm totally sorry. Thank you all for taking a step forward to this public forum and for sharing your perspectives and experience with the residents of Kimberley. I will now provide each candidate with 2 minutes to introduce themselves to the audience. Just a reminder, you have 2 minutes.
Okay, we will start in alphabetical order with Cody Courtney. Thank you.
Everyone hear me out there? Okay, good. My name's Cody here. I thank you guys all for coming today. I'd like to thank the Commerce for holding this event for us. And I'd also like to thank you guys, the residents, for being here tonight. I'd like to mention my wife. She's not here tonight. She's at home with my little ones, but without her approval, I would not be here. It takes a big decision to step up to be a public figure, and she was supportive, and I thank her. I'm also a resident of Kimberley, not just a council or a candidate, right? So I like to enjoy my neighbors, the people around me, and I'd like to, just maintain that, right? Be there for everyone. We as candidates have chosen to be here tonight to hear you, to answer you, and to support you. Your voice does matter, and we all are here to listen. And finally, I thank my candidates beside me for stepping up to and having a voice. And if not me, it'll be one of them, and they'll have my voice. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tamara Duggan. I'm a 15-year-long resident here in Kimberley. I'm an owner of multiple businesses, a landlord, and a community cheerleader. I'm running for City Council as I want to be your voice on matters of importance to you. I believe that as an elected official, it's my responsibility to ensure that the issues of the residents of Kimberley are heard and addressed by City Council. I want to see Kimberley grow and thrive. I want to keep taxes manageable by having complementary sources of tax income. I want to see balance in economic growth in so much as our infrastructure can support such growth. I'd like to find new funding sources to address our aging infrastructure, maintain our roads and our snow removal, ensure our water system can support community, and to enable our facilities to be accessible by everyone. I'd like to set residential housing as a priority and support the granting of building permits. And I would love to see Kimberley be accessible to all seniors and families alike. City decisions need to be made with a focus on the greater good for the whole community, and I believe open discourse and that debate is healthy. We need to be proactive in our thinking and planning for the future. We need industry here in order to maintain existing infrastructure. as well as expand and develop our existing facilities. The success of Kimberley's future is dependent on the decision we make today, and I want to be part of ensuring we are forward-thinking in our council priorities and making big-picture decisions for the future with sustainability at its core. As your councillor, I hope to contribute to producing a positive economic future for Kimberley. Thank you.
It's just a nice.
Under control, okay. One sec. Can you hear me? Okay. Hello, my name is Diana Fox, and some of you may already know me as I am the owner of Mountain Grass Gallery and Bistro. I want to thank you all for coming out this evening. If there is something I really appreciate about Kimberley, it's that the people who live here really care about the community. And that's the biggest reason why I'm running for City Council, because I cannot think of a better place to serve than in a community full of caring, engaged people. There are so many things to love about Kimberley. It's why we all live here, and we all have our specific reasons why we choose Kimberley. From the beautiful natural surroundings, the abundant recreational opportunities, the friendly people, the quirky and unique small businesses, and the organizations that make our city vibrant. Whatever our reasons, we all choose Kimberley. And I want to see Kimberley continue to be a place that is worthy of choosing for people to live, to work, to visit, and to play. My vision for Kimberley is to facilitate thoughtful development, empower thriving small businesses, and create a safe and vibrant community. I want to see development that enhances our vibrancy, celebrates our uniqueness, and capitalizes on our existing strengths. I want our small businesses empowered to ensure they are thriving and collaborate to create initiatives that support their long-term success. For sustainable Kimberley, we need to prioritize initiatives that enhance our climate resiliency, increase our active transportation, and proactively manage our assets and resources. In addition to being a small business owner, my professional background encompasses the private, public, and nonprofit sectors. I've worked in healthcare, disability service, post-secondary education, and I have a degree in fine arts. I am committed to bringing my diverse background to serve our community in the most positive ways that I can. Thank you, everyone.
So I met with a young family up on 5th in Townsite, and there's a development slated for the end of their street there. And they were okay with it. They had some concerns, but the bigger concerns they had were sidewalks for their kids to get to Lindsay Park. They said water pressure was low, and they had concerns about that. I met another lady in Townsite. She's a widow and lived a simple life. Her husband worked at the mines. She said, I don't know if I have enough money to pay for property tax for the next 2 years. And that being said, she said, I'm very concerned about our aging infrastructure. I thought that was just a thoughtful tension that was there. I met with another family that had been here for 60 years, and they wondered if entrepreneurs and business people coming to our community were getting a fair shake. Another lady in Blarchmont who deals with minor hockey and kids sports, see more and more kids doing sports in Cranbrook, and it's getting more and more difficult to deal with the services that we have here. Forest Crown, you know, they were concerned about multifamily developments going there, and they were concerned about the unsafe access to Forest Crown, the speeds there, Marysville, the deer, and safe crosswalks with the increased traffic. So what these people have in common was they were all people that love Kimberley and have quieter voices. So I'm for forward thinking, diversification of our tax base, seeing new business coming to town, balanced budgets, infrastructure renewal. And this evening, I may not be able to answer all of your questions, and some of my answers may not align with your core values, or it may not seem that way. But what I wanted to tell you is that if I am elected, when I walk through those chamber doors, I'll be leaving my bags. Oh. It had a great punchline, folks. Yeah. Yeah.
Good evening. Does this work? Thank you. My name is Scott McLeod. I both live and work in Kimberley. I've been a resident here for 10 years. My tagline for running for City Council is committed to community. I lived in a big city in Alberta, please forgive me. I've moved to the Kootenays in 2007, and after our kids were finished the schooling where we were, my wife Deb and Deb is here supporting me, and I really appreciate that. Moved to Kimberley, we love it. The reason I am running for council is I'm a very pragmatic, boring kind of guy. I'm interested in our community not staying as it is, but growing with the same values and the same personality and the same neighbors that I have. The kids in my neighborhood run in a small pack. I love the fact that we live in the kind of city where little kids can go out and their parents don't have to be hover parenting them. The neighborhood takes care of it. If I leave my house and something's done, my neighbors take care of it for me. Having lived in a big city, it's just a fabulous place to live. I realize that growth is necessary, funding and development is necessary, but it needs to be managed in such a manner that we don't lose what we have at present. With regard to infrastructure and growth, one thing I think we need to do is realize that I've been struggling with how to phrase it, but we have to take care of what we have and make sure it's functional and well managed before we go on to greater and other things. And thank you very much for coming, and I hope you consider all of us today as really viable candidates.
Hello, everybody. I'm not going to ask you if you can hear me because those who can't won't be able to answer that question. My name is William McCarroll. I sit here proud to put my name forward for City Council. I'm really honored to see such a large delegation come out to want to help improve our community. Thank you for the land acknowledgement of the Ktunaxa Nations, the stewards of this land since time immemorial. And we can learn a lot about what it is to live in harmony. I, like candidate Jensen, I'm the same. I might not be able to answer all the questions, and some of my answers you might not like. That's the absolute truth, but you know what? I'm about creating safe space that offers equal opportunity for all that want to be a part of this community. You know, when me and my wife decided to buy here, I've been here for 18 years. I came from Toronto. I work in the public sector in healthcare and mental health and substance use. It's something that is lacking on the council from that public perspective, that public community healthcare, and I know it's on their forefront and they're doing what they can. I'm really happy with the choices for the redevelopment of the land and growing out and beautifying our city and its core. But we have to start looking at what can we do to bring in affordable housing, mainly with, with 2722 high residential. We need doors here to attract people so we can attract business and we can attract the right type of business, both commercial and light industry. We need it here if we're going to grow, because if we don't, we're going to stagnate. And I think
starting to get scared of that bell. All right, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Christopher Milner. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. It's really nice to see the support that we have here. So I am Kimberley, born and raised. I left for almost a decade. I left in 2018 and returned in 2017. So I've seen Kimberley, but I've also seen outside of Kimberley. I know what it's like. I know what it was like to grow up in this amazing town, and that's why I came back. But I also know the pain points of growing up here as well. This is my first time running for council, so I'm not going to come out making a bunch of large promises. But my core value is that I'm going to advocate for a community, especially if I know it is something that this town truly needs. And I know this town does need some change for sure. I promote value over just dollars. So if something needs to be done, will it change the way our town functions? And will it help keep our young people and our young families here? Because I know what it was like when I was younger. There wasn't a lot of representation for the young families, and keeping the incredible talent here. We often lose those to bigger centers. So bringing in that light industrial and some businesses here that service, all education levels will be a really nice thing to see. Thank you for coming out. I just got 30 minutes, is that? Or 30 seconds. Okay. Well, I guess that means it's time for me to wrap up. But again, thanks for coming out and hearing what all of these candidates have to say.
Before we get started, would anyone that's standing like to find a seat before we get going? You're welcome to stand as well. This will be your time. Okay, no worries. Thank you all for those introductions. Oh, we got one taker. So the format here will go around in alphabetical order. Each candidate will be given one question, and they'll have 2 minutes to respond. If any of the other candidates would like to respond or have a rebuttal, they can raise their hand, and they have 30 seconds. And then we'll allow 2 responses per question. And if the question recipient would like to have a short follow-up of 30 seconds, we'll welcome that as well. So we have 2 sections tonight. One section is prepared questions, which many of these candidates have had, or sorry, all of them, to be fair, have had ahead of time, general questions on several different topics. And then we invited the community to submit questions online, and those will be the second section here, which are unseen by the candidates. So we'll do a mix of both, and we'll try to split the time in half. So we'll begin with Cody. First question will be, how would you find the balance between fostering economic development and maintaining the city's character and quality?
Just wait while I find that. What number of question was that again?
These are mixed up on my side, but take a moment to find it. It's not a problem.
It's the first one, sorry. Okay. Yeah, thanks for the question. There was a debate there a while back about development in Marysville, and I think that brought in some healthy discussion amongst the residents, and I think it opened up a door for communications that need to happen a lot more. So I still support the OCP. It is our handbook and our guidance to the community, and it should be reviewed every 5 to 7 years to keep up with community growth. Currently, we are moving towards the 7th year of our OCP, so that should be re-looked at with our moving times. Both old and new residents reside here for its character and quality of life, and many of them enjoy the economic development as an extra perk, right? We all moved here because we like what we have and we want to keep it. Sorry, just one second. The Integrated Community Sustainability Plan. I came across that last night, digging into the OCP a little bit. It is the master plan above the OCP. That document states what the OCP should do, what the Rec and Parks Division should do, and what transportation should do. The last time that document was updated was 2011, and it had a shelf life till 2025. So we are now at the cusp of re-looking at that document and reutilizing it to, look at what we want to see Kimberley look like. As a councillor, I would like to take on that role to help shape that document and to help push Kimberley for another 25 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Craig, if you'd like to respond.
There we go. Yeah, and I think it's really important, to segue on what you were saying is, as growth takes place, we need to really make sure that a focus is placed on reinvesting the money on infrastructure, healthcare, education, childcare, effective policing, fire protection, and emergency services. We don't want to just grow to grow. We really need to take that money and do something that benefits our whole community.
This question is for Tamara. What role do you see affordable housing in your vision for the city, and how will you ensure its availability for future generations?
I believe housing development is a huge priority for the city, and we need to have more housing developments with multi-family units in order to increase the number of vacancies that are available. When there is a housing shortage like we have right now, the supply and demand model kicks in and prices increase. If we have a glut of vacancies, then the prices are more fluid as there are more competition to secure tenants. The city must continue to make issuing housing permits a priority, and this will be part of the plan that addresses our economic resiliency. And in so doing, we will keep taxes down for our residents. Rising costs affect all of us, and this includes residents in all income brackets. I plan to support the city in its existing collaborations with other municipalities, in lobbying both the provincial and federal government for tax breaks and considerations in terms of programs and services administered to the lower and middle income residents. By making our concerns known and having a larger presence, we may be able to affect change from the higher levels of government. Thank you.
Scott, would you like to follow that?
So I just want everybody to know how special I feel because I don't have to share a mic. Building on what, and that was really well said. Building on that, I think we need to, I hate buzzwords, but reimagine what we're looking for in the way of affordable housing and not just multifamily dwelling, this, that. There's a number of things that we could look at as a community that I think would be I better talk quick. There's a lot of things that are out there, residential above commercial, walkable streets with residential above commercial, laneway housing, carriage housing, garden housing, all things that could be zoned for in certain areas. Probably already, I'm in an R2 and we could do that in our dwelling. There's many ways that we could imaginatively address this and still keep the character of our community from changing substantially.
I'm going to go to Diana first.
Okay, sorry. It's a weird system. It's a weird system. I just wanted to add in one of the things about housing too that I think we want to prioritize is that we want to have a really diverse base of opportunity or options for housing. We want to make sure that we've got things that serve families as much as we want to make sure that we've got things that serve practicum students that are coming here to do their rural rotations. All of those things are really, really important in terms of what we need for housing. And I think we also want to make sure we're empowering community groups, we're empowering community land trusts, we're working with BC Housing and all the organizations that are already in the community doing good work.
We're going to allow Will to speak next.
Thank you, and I concur with what everybody has said. I'm not as polished as they are, so I'm just going to give Cole notes. You know what? housing is always going to be an issue. We're always going to be faced with challenges. You know, what we have to do though is we have to meet those challenges if we want our population to grow. We have to start building these houses, and we have to look at high residential settings too, but we have to make sure that we're looking after the infrastructure that's going to go in and support those houses. More importantly too, like residents now pay about 87% of the tax base, right? So having also available spot to bring in other partnerships with industry and with commercial will help to offset that blow. But it's really important, first of all, that we start putting in the housing, but we have to be really strategic about how we do it, making sure that we have affordable housing for everybody, not just building housing.
Okay, Scott. Yes.
Thank you. Just a very short comment that came to mind as we're speaking about building. The city isn't going to be building, it's going to be private contractors, it's going to be businesses. And if we want them to build affordable housing, if we want it in our community, we have to incentivize, I hate that word, we have to make it worth their while to build smaller, more affordable housing. If their profit margin is in building huge McMansions and that's where they're going to make it's in their best interest to do that. So we have to, as a community, make it in their best interest to build smaller, more affordable, accessible housing for those that can't afford the McMansions. Thank you.
I know housing is quite important, so we're just going to allow one more. Craig, if you'd like to have 30 seconds.
First try. Yeah, and you know, I think it's a real important thing. It's a little more complex sometimes. For example, I've talked to 3 seniors in Marysville that are looking forward to seniors building being built that they like so that they can move out of their large homes, and their dream really is to have families move into it. And so, you know, when we talk about building homes for families, there's other ways that comes about too, and it's just something to keep in mind. I think it's very important.
Okay, thank you all. We're going to move to Diana. Yeah. What strategies will you use to attract more visitors to our city while also supporting local businesses?
It likes you better. It likes you better. All right. So tourism is something that obviously is really important in Kimberley, but I think it's also something that we want to make sure we're being really, really considerate about. Tourism has an impact, and we're seeing that all over the world, right? Not everybody loves having tourists in their communities, right? So I think the key thing there is we want to make sure that whatever tourist initiatives that we're driving are tourist initiatives that are sustainable for us as residents living here. That's really important. That being said, in the 2019 non-residential gap analysis, there's a whole bunch of really great recommendations in there, and one of them is to look at conferences as a mode of bringing people to Kimberley. Conferences are actually a really smart, strategic thing to do. You're kind of controlling how people come in and where they come in. You know how many, you know where they're coming from, you know where they're staying, you know when they've got breaks in the day. And to a certain extent too, you know when your city isn't really ideally suited to have 500 extra bodies in it. One of the observations made in that document was that Kimberley's actually really well suited as a place for conferences. We have an airport close by. We've got the biggest conference center in the region is in Kimberley, so there's a lot of opportunity there to grow and promote tourism in a really positive way. So yeah.
Thank you. Any follow-ups? Craig and Tamara.
I know. That's great. You know, I stopped at the Welcome Center, the Visitor Center, and talked with the folks there. And one thing I learned that I was very surprised at is they said while they're open, they average 100 visitors a day. And I said, no, I'm talking about like a day, how many do you average? They said, no, 100, Craig, it's between 70 and 130. And I found that astounding. And I think there's a real opportunity for us. And, if we can find a way to keep them here for the evenings, for night, or minor hockey when they have tournaments here, that they don't go back to Cranbrook for night. And so I think, I'm hoping I get the opportunity to work with council and with our strategic plans and really come up with a way to keep those people here, keep those dollars here.
I think we also need to recognize that some things are beyond our control. And a good example is COVID. And another one would be the fire at the ski hill. And these managed to derail our tourism industry in a big way. And I think having a diverse economy might support our economic resiliency. And this economy would be a healthy economy, and as tourism grows, so does our business. But in the reverse, if we have business, that can take up a gap where tourism lost out. Existing organizations can work together to highlight some of our attractions and amenities. And I see a real opportunity for collaboration between the Chamber of Commerce, the Rotary, the Lions, festival and event organizers to work together to bring in more events. And I firmly believe that if this was entrenched not only in summertime, but in the shoulder season, it would enhance both the locals and the tourists' experience. I firmly believe that the city-owned recreation, thank you. 30
Yes, Will?
Oh, thank you. I just want to piggyback on what Craig said there. It is true. We have a wonderful, robust area to attract people to come and visit, but we don't have accommodation. We really don't have accommodation. We have that wonderful conference center up at the ski hill, but it's $400 a night to stay there. And conferences are great, and the other suggestions about more festivals and doing things, but we need to provide, we're going to create business by allowing opportunities for people to have accommodations. Currently, I don't believe that we have anything for even bed and breakfasts. We have to look at, if we're going to attract people here, and maybe they're going to become our future residents and contribute to our community, we got to give them a place to stay here so they can really enjoy the surroundings and not be going to Cranbrook to stay overnight.
Okay, just one last here, and then after this, we're just going to go down to 2, just to keep time here for responses.
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything. We have tourists that are very loyal. They come year after year after year. So maybe we look at, advocating for them to bring some of those businesses that we feel are short, the bed and breakfasts, because a lot of times those are the people who understand that tourism. But I'm going to rebut on that too and say I think I also want to see some more shop local promoting, not going to Cranbrook, not going to Calgary. If I could work with RCR, I doubt this is going to happen, but if we could have a locals rate and a tourist rate, I think that would help, the affordability, so it's not $300 for a family to go skiing for one day on a weekend if they don't have a pass. So those are the little things too that I would like to see to help our locals with affordability, because I think our tourists do support our town very well, and they are very loyal. So I just wanted to add that bit in.
This question is for Craig. What are your top priorities for improving public safety in our city, and how do you plan to address them?
Well, I did make some notes on this. I didn't want to miss it. So some of the major issues that I've been running into are sidewalks for schools, Forest Crown, the entrance there, pedestrian crossings in Marysville, and forest fire protection and realistic evacuation plans. You know, it's a good question. What am I going to do about that? I see that more as like a council opportunity. You know, it seems to me people on the council have diverse backgrounds and skills, but are working towards the best thing. And I think public safety is on one of the highest concerns they have. So I see us together, you know, if elected, as just being very strong advocates to, you know, MOTI to make sure that our roads are safe. Speeds are the correct speeds, you know, that the crosswalks are in the right place. When developments happen, that we take into consideration the increased traffic and how are our kids going to get to the schools, you know, or to the parks that are on the other side of the highway. So I think for me, that's probably some of the top priorities, and how I'm going to work on that is collaboratively with council. I think we've got some really good heads to put together there to make a difference for the next generation.
Cody and then Will.
Thank you, Craig. That was good. Yeah, the community members I've talked to, right, you know, Kimberley's been a safe place to be. That's why they moved here. You know, a lot of us don't even lock our doors at night, right? So, you know, that sense of safety is very important to why we moved here and why we want to live here. So after the lug nut situation, after a couple of the other thefts in the local area, there has been a local group start up that I've been part of. And this is more of just about engaging with the city residents from town site to Marysville and everywhere in between. The initial movement is based on awareness of what, where, and how it is happening. As a community group, that is all the leverage we can assist in so that we don't become the victims ourselves, right? We have to understand that we have a level that we have to maintain as residents. The who and why is a larger and more dangerous task, and I believe the support at city level and authorities is a must, and it's necessary. We want to create a social network where you engage with your neighbors.
Hello. Yeah, safety comes in many forms. It was illustrated by, you know, sidewalks and crosswalks. I find it really funny. I just live off of Jim Ogilvie Way there down in Marysville, and there's a brand new daycare center going in there in our public school, and they have a crossing sign, but they don't have a 30-kilometer sign there, which is around all the other communities, and that's one of the heaviest, busiest trafficked areas. We also have to look at other things too, maybe offering programs in the school for, you know, we have the Bear Aware program, and we have to have a Fire Aware program. We have to have other programs that help our students and our young people understand other ways of being safe from, depending on the time of year, with wildlife, with fire, infrastructure, and developing infrastructure for sidewalks, but signage as well. Safety is such a huge thing, and we can all have a scope on it, but we have to look at all of them and bring it to council and see what is needed in the community and make sure we develop and implement those things that will keep our residents.
Apologies. We've got a lot of ground to cover tonight, so we're just going to keep it to 2 from now on. All right, so this next one is for yourself, Scott. What are your priorities regarding zoning policies in our city?
So, from my understanding, the zoning policies or zoning specifically is set down by the province, and then the city implements it. The city, I've spoken to some of their staff, they're trying to get to, I'm going to use the word innovative, more modern zoning towards housing issues that I've spoken to in the past. And the zoning at present, excuse me, I'm fumbling here. The zoning at present is functional for a 1960s, 1970s, 1980s design city. We're in a new era, and we have to look at, go back to what we're looking for and then see how we can develop that within the new provincial zoning guidelines with regard to housing that we can actually live in, afford, and develop as a community without losing our character. I'm a broken record, but the zoning, the city's role in zoning is to facilitate it, support it, and I missed the sign. Thank you. And work within the guidelines while making it accessible to the developers and the citizens so that we can have new or interesting, innovative community changes. Thank you.
Thank you. Cody first, and then anyone else follow.
Yeah, so I'd just like to just add a little bit more, right? Everything he said is correct. Policies are tools for the city of Kimberley to use to align day-to-day activities to work within the master plan of Kimberley. As a councillor, it is our obligation to identify those policies and provide the information to the general public for their approval. We are elected officials that represent all community members, and it is in our best of interest to get as much input as possible from both residents, businesses, and stakeholders. We as council and mayor have the tools to create the environment to seek such an input, and we should assist residents in doing so.
This question is for Will. How will you work to ensure our local health facilities and clinics that are adequately funded and equipped to meet the needs of our community?
Thank you for that question. I kind of feel honored to get it, seeing as I work in healthcare. So that's wonderful. I'm just gonna use an example to start off with. We had the luxury of having two of our children come in and spend some time with us, and we were camping with our grandchildren, and my wife got a bee sting and her arm swelled up massively and she needed medical attention, and we came here to our center in Kimberley, and we don't have our local doctor here. Our local doctors are in Cranbrook, unfortunately, and she was turned away. And all she needed was a prescription or some Benadryl to get her started. We were directed to the UPCs, to the urgent primary care, where we went, and then we were directed to the hospital. I can't imagine what that would be like for somebody who doesn't have the ability to transportation or is a senior needing service. You know, we have a second floor on that health unit that needs an upgrade. It's about a $5 million upgrade to bring it up to code, so we can start servicing people here and start sending them away from our community where they need services. I think we have to have a strong correlation too with mental health and addictions, and providing services in here that aren't just this office is open Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, and if that's not good for you, please go somewhere else. There is a flavor for it here. I'm tired of having to travel always outside of my town, my city, to get services when I know they could be provided here. We have to create incentives to attract these populations with nurses and doctors, but what they need is they need the space to be able to provide that service, and we have it here. We just have to get it up to code so we can start offering those services. And I think they're a huge priority to have health care here in our town and not have to travel somewhere else for service.
Tamara and then Scott.
Well, I see the city's role in healthcare as to be a lobbyist for funding for services. We need to liaise not only with Interior Health for better equipment and facilities, as well as for staffing, and to the province for avenues of funding that may be available to us, and by networking with our colleagues across the region and with ministries within the provincial departments, we can successfully lobby for better and improved services and facilities. Thank you.
So Interior Health calls the shots to a great degree with what we get. I believe it's our, as a city council member and as citizens of the city, it's our role to advocate to them, which basically means we build a good, strong business case to them why they would be better served financially and logistically by providing us with the services in our own community, as opposed to having to shuttle us on ambulances, us having to shuttle ourselves. Just show them that it is more efficient for everybody involved, certainly better for the patients, for the citizens, but also it makes sense for them to provide the services in our community.
Okay, thank you all. I think the way we'll do the rebuttals, instead of having a limit, we'll just prioritize those that haven't hit that yet. I just want to make sure conversation keeps going. And that was Will's question there, so we do have a little bit more. So we're just going to move to the next one now. And this one will be directed to Christopher. What strategies will we use to foster community involvement and ensure that residents' voices are heard in city decision-making?
Well, I think the city of Kimberley has actually already done a good job with Engage Kimberley on that, but honestly, up until about a week and a half ago, I had no idea it existed. So I think the big thing is we can have these great processes in place, but if we don't create adequate awareness, how are people going to know? And maybe a lot of people do, and it was just me in the dark, I don't know. But essentially, we need to create an approachable council, which I think we do, so people can contact us when they need to. That was the big thing there. If I get into council, I'll always be willing to hear what people want to see.
Okay, thank you. We'll go Scott and then William.
I think that with regard to community involvement, there's a great unheard out there, people that don't express their opinions or make their voices known and they're very hesitant to approach you. A parallel from my work, day-to-day work, is I see clients in their homes, I see clients in my office in the back of the RCMP detachment, but I keep office hours at the Timber Hitch and the Bean Tree, and by that I mean I just sit there and I read, and when somebody who comes in, I look up and make myself accessible to them, and I do a great deal of my work that way. And I think as a city councillor, myself or any of my competition, I don't know how to phrase it, the folks up here, if we make ourselves accessible to the general public just by being out there, chatting with people, talking with people, and more important, asking that leading question that leads them to open up about what their concerns are and what they'd like to see, would be probably the very best way to find out what the community at large wants.
Thank you, Scott, for that, and thank you for your answer. I see. I told a few friends about this forum tonight and directed them to the City Hall webpage and that they could look at it. And you know what? Most of them called me back and said, I can't find it. There are drop-down menus or this and that, and they just couldn't find it. I think we need a revamp of although our website's good, we need a revamp to make it easier for access for people so they can find out what is highlighted right in the moment. I like meeting people in the community too. And I also think there's a flavor maybe for a podcast. Come and meet your city council through a podcast. Engage with us there. If you can't make it out into the community, have problems navigating, let's start a podcast and hear what you want and what we need to bring back to council to address your issues.
This question is for Cody. How will you integrate climate resilience into city planning and infrastructure development?
We are an old city. right? We have old buildings, we have old infrastructure. I don't necessarily agree with uplifting all of that and removing that character and that history. I think a good starting point would be to, revamp and reutilize some of that infrastructure that is already there in place. I believe building from what we have started is the quickest way. We have digitalized our meetings, we have traditional media sources, we have highlighted important topics, and all information is shelved for public sourcing. I believe as a council, it must present the information to the public in as many ways as possible, like tonight. The city can also assist in telling community about decisions to help create visible means for all public, kind of promote these ideas. So to the point that William brought up, right, it's sometimes hard to find this information, right? It gets convoluted in the emails, in the databases, on the website, right? So I think the support from the city itself and maybe even current council is to promote these things, right? Promote the idea of what's on happening at these meetings. Have a post-meeting review. I believe the more people that are educated in this manner, the more successful the outcome will be when we are looking at specific policies and decisions that we need to make as a community. That's it.
Diana?
Honestly, this microphone is more particular. I just wanted to add in, I think that climate resiliency needs to be our biggest priority in terms of our infrastructure development. In a lot of ways, Kimberley's a leader in a lot of climate things. We're leaders in terms of how we build buildings and our efficiency. There's a lot of fleet vehicles that the city uses that are electric vehicles. These are all really positive things. But I think we want to make sure that we're always considering what the impact of what we're doing is on our resources. And we want to make sure that we're aware of what vulnerabilities there may be, and that we have good plans for risk management, for risk mitigation, and emergency preparedness, just in case, right? So yeah, that's what I would say to that.
Will?
Yeah, yesterday was a clear example of being prepared for our environment, and it might not sound like it, but with that slow burn, because it's going to protect our environment, we have to keep an eye on our watershed and how we're using our water. But more importantly, a lot of people want to buy these electric cars now. We don't have any place to charge them. The infrastructure in most of the houses here are 100 amp, and to charge an electric vehicle, that would take 16 to 18 hours at home if they were to install something there. We have to create an incentive plan that maybe helps residents who want to move to the electric hybrid for environmental reasons to upgrade and we have to create a spot for charging. We need some charging outlets like we have gas stations. We have to provide those services if we want to move to that environmentally friendly and be ecological. And with that, we have to look at what do we have to do to provide that.
Okay, thank you. This next question is to you, Tamara. Do you have any ideas on how to attract investment, and what type of investment would benefit the community the most?
Thank you. I think one of the best ways to attract new investment is not to run business out of town. We need to be open-minded when it comes to business development ideas, and not to rush to judgment as to why we don't want certain businesses here. I remember when I first opened my dispensary, and there was a lot of concern that Kimberley was going to turn into the weed capital of BC. And our tourist industry was going to flourish because everyone was focused on weed stores and getting accessories and weed-friendly businesses like campgrounds, with everything being around cannabis. Well, thankfully, that didn't happen. And we still have a mix of tourism. But we need a mix of all sorts of businesses, commercial, retail, industrial, and we cannot be closed-minded to new opportunities as business development comes our way. I don't believe small business alone is the answer. We desperately need new industries and investment if we want to keep our residential taxes from increasing so much year by year. I see light industrial and commercial as two areas where we could benefit from new business. I think along the lands along Jim Ogilvie Way, and I envision a warehouse type business. What if it was a chopstick manufacturing facility? This would bring in jobs both in construction and building processes, and later as the need for laborers rolled out. Plus, it would be environmentally friendly since bamboo is a renewable resource. They say if you build it, they will come. Small business sustainability relies on the creativity and dedication of entrepreneurs. And as we expand and grow as a city, we will be able to draw a wider array of consumers from further away because of the services and venues that we have to offer. One way the city can support small business is to have a councillor sit on the board of the chamber. Thank you.
Thank you. Diana?
Such a fight, sorry. I just wanted to add in that I think one of the best approaches that we can also take to attract investment is to really nurture and foster the existing businesses and the existing small businesses that we have. It communicates something really powerful to an outside investor if they can look at Kimberley and see Kimberley as a place that a small business can grow and develop and evolve into something really wonderful and special. And I think that it would be a really important opportunity for us to foster and to nurture.
Chris beat you to it, but we can go to you after Craig. Yeah, these rules are all arbitrary. We can change them on the fly.
Well, then I have about 6 rebuttals that I'd like to go back on. I think too, I was actually watching the meetings with the whole McDonald's debacle, and there were a couple small business owners who said they had approached the city with some light industrial ideas, but they had to jump through so many hoops to find out what land's even available, and I don't think that's fair. I think if we have land that is available for this use, why are we not promoting it? Ask people for their business plans. That way, when we have these business plans coming, we can see what exactly is coming forth, and we can get some of that development in like commercial. I don't think we should be doing anything to stop it. I think we should be aiding in it growing for sure.
Sorry, I would have been talking a lot more earlier had I known that. Yeah, you know what, I like that. I like the OCP. I get that it's going to get revamped. I like the fact that smart people have put their heads together to do that. And if you get the chance, our strategic action plan really touches base on our core values, what we want to do. Yeah, I think those are really worth checking out. I'll maybe come back to that one, but thank you. Okay.
This question is for Diana. What strategies would you like to implement to address the rising cost of living in our city, particularly in low to middle income residents?
Sorry, this thing puts up such a fight. So cost of living is not a Kimberley problem. This is an everywhere problem. Having said that, I think the best thing the city can do is take actions to mitigate what costs they then put on to residents. So do we have the fairest tax structure that we can? Do we have the fairest development fee structure that we can? Are we ensuring that all of the avenues where we can bring in revenue, we are bringing revenue, so that that ask on taxpayers is kind of as little as we can make it be? It's, yeah, that's why I say that.
Scott?
Speaking primarily with the tax base and tax issues and stuff like that, one of the ways that we can deal with the rising costs of things is, instead of trying to cut costs, is to increase efficiencies, see where there's wastage within the system, wastage with, and I'm not saying there is, but I expect there is, there's wastage everywhere, and just become more efficient with the resources and the finances we have at present before we have to start looking elsewhere.
I'd like to add to this, and I'm sure some of you know me for my billboard on the highway. So yes, I do work for a builder in Cranbrook. The one thing I want to say, and I did hear a comment earlier, it's not just about, you know, housing costs being high because we want to make a bunch of profit margin. There are things outside of control, such as rising, you know, energy codes and building codes, and all of those add to the building costs of a home. So there's only so much, you know, that can be done there. But if we brought in, again, I know we've heard it over and over again, some smaller multifamily options. Not everybody needs a single family home. Not everybody needs a big yard. But what I see on Facebook is, well, why are we bringing in more development when there's vacant lots that are for sale? So that speaks to Tamara's point of, let's not chase the idea out before we have the facts. And I think it's up to the council to communicate those facts of why we need this, how it will improve our community, so people can be more on board with it from the get-go, not reading a Facebook headline and making assumptions about what exactly is coming.
This question's for Craig. Do you see a role in renewable energy sources in our city's energy strategy?
Okay, the way I see it, Kimberley has a bright and sustainable future, one that combines strong local economy, great amenities, a vibrant cultural scene, and a healthy natural environment. And actually, the vision is well articulated in what I was referring to earlier, which is our corporate strategy plan. Some great people have put together some great ideas, and this is going to be something that we all do together, whether it's food security, fire protection, renewable resources. One of the, in the corporate strategic plan, a couple of the big points was decrease infrastructure deficit, prioritize projects according to the asset management plans, and financial accountability. So I really am trying to think ahead to the next generation. You know, I'm hoping we can put some things in place now that will really make a difference. And sometimes parents they have to kind of grit their teeth and make some difficult decisions. And I've seen council do that, and I think there's more ahead. And so I think that has a lot to do with the environment and the decisions we make moving forward.
Tamara?
Well, I'd just like to point out the process of selling off the Sun Mine is an excellent example of how the city had the foresight to develop a renewable energy source and then sell it when it would be of the most financial benefit to us. And by divesting itself of certain assets, I believe that the city can then use the funds to address other climate strategy priorities. And by making decisions with the environment in mind, combined with financial accountability of asset dispersion, allows the city to address new and exciting energy sources and strategies. And one thing I think we also need to do is get moving on the waste treatment plant before the price gets so expensive that we're in debt for the next 100 years.
Craig?
Yeah, one other thing that I really want to touch on with renewables, and I think this is something I can maybe make the leap for, and it's just with our water and protection of our water. I met with our mayor last week, and he said a report highlighted the fact that we're losing 40% of our water to seepage and old infrastructure. And it really blew my mind, you know, and it takes money to fix those things. But we're on water restrictions. And as far as renewables go, it's just such a high priority for me that we consider those things. And water is such a precious commodity. So I really just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention this evening.
Sure. Okay, thank you, everyone. We're going to now be moving to the community submitted questions here. So these are a little more focused. They're not meant to catch you out, but these are real questions from residents of Kimberley.
This question is for Scott. Development cost charges or monies are collected from land developers by the municipality of offset of some of the infrastructures that have occurred. The charges are intended to facilitate development by providing a method to finance capital projects related to roads, drainage, sewers, water, and parkland. There is a wide range in how they are applied by different municipalities. In some cases, this will include affordable housing and community facilities, which is governed by their bylaws. The City of Kimberley does not charge development cost charges, otherwise known as DDCs. What are your views on development cost charges? Are they needed, and why?
I don't know if they're needed or not. However, everything we've been speaking about this evening is making development and living here more affordable, and bringing in yet another charge with an ill-defined strategy towards utilizing it at present, I don't think is necessary. It's something that the citizens could speak to prior to the next election. It could become something that the council could look at. But we've been speaking about affordability and attracting business and supplementing and aiding our existing businesses and developers. And now at present, I don't see that it would benefit us. And it would be the opposite of what we've been talking about tonight, to actually implement another charge.
Diana and then Craig.
It's
There,
not just
it's all you now.
There you go. It was you too. I actually think development cost charges are something that would be really good to look at implementing. If I understand correctly, Kimberley is one of the only municipalities in the province that doesn't have them. And there's a few sort of benefits to them. One is that they would put money in a reserve fund for really specific things, generally infrastructure projects. And again, also, if I understand it correctly, because we're a resort municipality, we also have some flexibility to use those monies for things that other non-resort municipalities can't use them for. So I do think it would be something that would be really good to look at implementing. It's also a leverage piece too, right? You can waive them for certain types of builds versus other types of developments. So, yeah.
Yes, I agree with that, actually. I think business people understand that this is a cost that is common, and it varies. For example, you might be building on the main street in Marysville, and your build will then require a traffic light, you know, and it's reasonable that there's fees to offset those costs. And and it's commonplace. So I think it's reasonable, and I think there's a lot of ways we can attract business to Kimberley, and that's just part of the cost of doing business.
Thank you. Okay, this next question is yourself, William. In the last 10 to 12 years, 4 cities have experienced substantial destruction due to wildfire: Jasper, Fort McMurray, Lytton, and Slave Lake. Many others have experienced serious near misses. Our neighbors at Acom lost 6 to 7 acres to wildfire in 2023. How will you represent the many residents of Kimberley concerned about the slow pace of wildfire-urban interface fuel treatments relative to the real and significant wildfire risks faced by this community?
Wow, that's a big question, and whoever posed it from the gallery, thank you for that. You know, I think it all starts. We had a perfect example of a slow burn yesterday for the reduction and hopefully prevention of fires, and it was very successful from what I've seen. I had a lot of people coming up and asking me, "Is there a fire? Should I report that?" They could see the smoke, but you know, really, when it comes right down to the prevention, it's about a collaboration, right? We have to have a really good, solid collaboration with forestry, with mining, with our First Nations people, and we have to understand our clear cutting practices and why we're doing them, ensuring that we're not taking away too much and we're leaving enough so it can help create and redevelop that growth, right? We have to look at other ways of maybe when we're doing the clear cutting and what are we replanting it with? You know, are we replanting it with something that is less susceptible to fire, but it's still going to maintain and hold our watershed? But it's about a collaboration and working with partnerships and talking to you. It's like, well, where do you see the issues? Those are really important, but I think we need a good, strong collaboration and a strategic plan, and we have to have a clear vision on where we're going to do this control measures, and we'll get that best served from the people who are on those lands all the time and fighting and working in those industries.
Okay, we'll go to Scott and then Diana.
So this is important and clear to me. I live in Swan Sub, and my neighbors across the street back on the community forest. I am in the community forest at least every second day running, enjoying the forest, be whatever, trying to run, pretending to run, whatever you want to call it. There has been a controlled burn planned in that area just away from my home for a number of years, and it hasn't occurred yet. And as I continue to go into the forest, I watch the fuel load grow and grow, and the potential disaster, the potential for disaster grow and grow. I know our fire service has plans in place. They can only do it within, of course, a certain window of time. They aren't going to do it in such a way that it would put the community at risk. But this is one of those cases, I think, where putting a lot of effort and and if it takes the resources, which generally speaks to money, I guess that's it. Thank you.
Yes. It took 7 times, guys. I finally got it. I just wanted to add to that one thing that a couple of people have touched on is that some of our reports are not as contemporary as they could be. And I think when we're talking about forest fires, when we're talking about climate, those are reports I think we need to ensure that we always have the most up-to-date information that we can. We're not looking at things that are from 2009 or 2013. We're looking at things that are really contemporary and really reflective of the world that we're in right now, the climate and all of the climate stuff. It's changing really, really rapidly, and we just want to ensure that we're prepared.
This message, or this question is for Chris. I'm not leaving a voicemail, sorry. usually when I do this. A recent proposal for zoning change allow for a gas station and a fast food drive-through divided the council and the city. How would you have approached this controversial issue?
I guess I get the big scary question. Who's all in favor, so I know how, no, I'm kidding. No, you know, am I opposed to new businesses like that coming in? Absolutely not. However, when I watched, you know, watched the video, everyone was really against it. And I think all for the same reasons, and probably for the same reasons I was. Were those the right businesses to come in? Probably not. Maybe not the right location. However, if I had seen some of that acre or that light industrial land developed, and maybe the McDonald's was secondary to that, maybe I would have been more in favor, because it wasn't the anchor point. And I think those are just the wrong anchor stores for that area. So I probably would have voted, you know, even just for a deferral on those businesses. I would have liked to have seen more businesses surrounding that area to where it actually made sense to have that. I would have also liked to see, you know, a healthier option other than a McDonald's. As someone who has just lost 40 pounds myself, I'm not allowed to go there anymore. But yeah, that's just kind of where my thoughts were with that. If, you know, the town really felt that that is what we wanted and what we needed, it's not up to my opinion. If that's what the people wanted, then I probably would have gone more in that direction as well.
Thank you. We'll do Scott and then William.
So a very contentious issue, and it was interesting to be part of the community when that was going on. What I want to say in that instance, I believe that the city council should have taken a step back and realized that they're there to represent the citizens of the city, and without taking a plebiscite or something, it was pretty much obvious that at least the most vocal of the citizens were all in one direction. At the community meeting I went to, it was very obvious that those who cared enough to come out to the community meeting were all in one direction. I think it's incumbent on the council that sometimes, even if they think different, they are the representatives of the voters, and they should take that into account.
Yeah, I agree. It was one of the more contentious things that I've heard lately. You know, but the messaging came across wrong too. It wasn't a gas station that they wanted to put in. They wanted to put in a recharging station for electric vehicles. They were looking at that sustainability piece. The McDonald's, I'm not going to say that anybody's going to come and visit us here because we have a McDonald's. But I know there were times when I want McDonald's and I have to go all the way to Cranbrook. I think there is a flavor for those types of businesses. We just have to be strategic in where we're putting them and getting the support, because, you know, not everybody has the ability to travel, lack of a better term, for fast food. But there is a flavor for it for small families. It'll create business, it'll create working opportunities for our kids, and it'll create a tax, a flat tax, which is going to lower the cost down to the residents who are already paying 87% of the tax. So we have to look at why.
Okay, thank you. The next question will go to Cody. Would you advocate to reinstate the position of economic developer within the city staff?
I wasn't aware we didn't have one, or if we need one. So, again, yes, I believe having somebody that is knowledgeable on the task of economic development. I had a conversation earlier today about economic development and land use strategies. I wouldn't put a weight over one or the other. I think there has to be a tandem usage between those two, because sometimes we could put money ahead of our environment, and sometimes we should not be doing that. So I think a healthy and well-rounded, educated development person would, help guide us and seek the information from the visitors and the residents to make a informed decision.
Okay, we'll go Diana, Craig, and time. We'll go Scott for a quick one, if you don't mind. We got to run through a few here, but.
I do think we should have an economic development person on staff. I do think that position should be reinstated. I also think that it should be looked at a little bit more broadly and how that person can liaise with Tourism Kimberley, the existing businesses, and all the other community partners that are out there looking to grow their businesses. The core group, there's a lot of guys in there who are looking for manufacturing spaces, and I think that if someone there was one guy or girl or person who sort of knew where those holes were and knew where those opportunities were, you can make sure that things don't fall through the cracks. I'm sorry, that was my bad.
I don't know the answer to that question, but I really do think we need to think carefully before adding to bureaucracy. We need to consider that, adding a $100,000 a year wage is something that we're all chipping in on. So I just think new positions, additional positions at the city, these are things we're paying for, and we just need to really take care that it's the right value, that we're getting a good rate on our return, and that it's the very best thing for our city.
Diana said it very well. William spoke earlier about how convoluted trying to navigate the city's website was. I have no idea what being a developer or a new business person in town is, but if they had a single point of contact who could path them towards everything they needed to do, I would really make their life simpler, probably facilitate businesses coming here. If we got a reputation as being open for business and easy to start a business in, I expect we would see more, and that position might well end up being a net benefit to the city.
Thank you. This question is for Tamara. With the demographics of Kimberley shifting towards more of a younger, more active group of people, what is your vision on how to integrate new infrastructures such as bike path and walkable spaces to our current transportation infrastructure?
Well, that's a really interesting question, because I don't necessarily agree that our city is turning into a younger, more youthful demographic. In fact, from my experience, I'm seeing the exact opposite. And we are an aging population, and there is a lot of people here that have mobility issues. And it's not just senior people. I see a lot of sports injuries in young people who are permanently disfigured because of a disaster that happened on the ski hill or in a bike incident. And so I may be straying a bit from the point of the question, but honestly, I think accessibility is a really big factor that we need to be considering in all public buildings to ensure that people can get in, and to encourage new developments to make it accessible. I also believe that things like clearing roads, we don't need to just clear the snow on the crosswalks getting into the Platzel, but we also need to look at things like the rec center and the pool, and getting into anywhere that someone with a mobility challenge would have. And one of the biggest things I see is when you're going to the Platzel, the cobblestones are a particularly uneven platform, whether it's in the summer or the winter. And one thing I'm really pleased to see is that the city is addressing an urban plan for downtown for revitalization. And I hope that that will be part of what they consider. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana, and then Scott.
I'd actually really like to see us prioritize the active transportation plan. I walk a lot. We're a one-car family, so I'm on my feet a lot. And there's a lot of places where it'd be nice if they were a little bit safer and the cars went a little slower. I know you all know what I'm talking about. I'd like to see some bike lanes put in. I'd like to see more bike parking. And ultimately, I'd also really like to see us see if we can start to get some transit initiatives going so people don't have to drive at all if they don't want to, if they're not able to.
I'm going to come at it slightly from the other side. My wife and I have electric bikes, pedal bikes, a couple of cute little scooters. We walk a lot. I find the city very accessible to all our bikes, walking and stuff like it. Could be better. I think that designated bike lanes in much of the city aren't necessary. My wife does take public transit to and from Cranbrook to work every day. That could be perhaps expanded a bit, but at present, I'm not comparing, but this is a pretty walkable, cyclable city at present. It could be better, but it's still very, very good.
Sorry, I missed Chris.
Yeah, I just want to go back to the young family thing. So my role is I am a new home specialist, which is a fancy pants way of saying I'm in sales. So my territory spans from Sparwood right to Radium, and I can actually say there is a large movement of younger people moving not only into Kimberley and the Kootenays, but moving back, like me who had left. So my big thing is I go back to the pain points of growing up here, and it was like council would always shut down things for the younger people. It was like pulling teeth just to get that pool and the skate park put in. So, and I remember being that age thinking, man, it's just another thing getting shut down by council. We're getting left out again. So I am going to protect those things. Things cost money. It might not happen right away, but things like our arenas that need work to make sure that our kids can still play hockey in the winter times and we're not shutting down ice time or having to sell it off to out of town. I'm going to look out for you there.
That is a great segue to this next question here. This one's going to Diana. Are you aware of the current state of our ice arenas? The Civic Center is past its expected lifespan and is currently flaking paint, as well as crumbling exterior bricks. As a councillor, do you plan to look into grant funding to build a new recreational complex or upgrade / repair the existing, or do we wait until we are in a similar position to Cranbrook last year?
It comes in a second there. Okay. I have heard a thing or two about this rink situation. You know, I think the thing about it is, as a city, we want to ensure that we have a really good plan for asset management, and recreational assets have to be part of that. Not everything lasts forever, and certainly rinks can, if they're not properly maintained, bad things can happen. Something bad happened in Fernie a couple of years ago. Absolutely, we don't want to see that happen here. I'm pretty sure there is a plan for recreation, or there is some framework that's being developed around that. But I definitely think that those recreational facilities absolutely have to be prioritized because they're really, really an important part of our community. And they serve an important function as community spaces. And we need those community spaces that aren't about spending money. They're just places you can go and do things. Libraries, all those places, they're important.
Yeah, as a father of 3 young kids that are in hockey, swimming, anything rec related, biking, skiing, everything, I think it's important that we, maintain our facilities. I think the reason we got into this trouble with our arenas is that we've had a lack of commitment from the city to put a prioritization on recreation activities. So I would like to see more of a repair and fix to keep the history and and the knowledge rather than, demolition. Start approaching it with more of a greener outlook. We could be cooling the ice surface as we're heating the pool all at the same time, right? There's a lot of communities out here that are utilizing technologies that are out there and affordable to a sense because your ROIs have a good return.
Yeah, so I'm going to go, if it comes down to the fact that one or both of the arenas does need to be knocked down, we of course would have to do an economic feasibility study. I would like to see, maybe the Centennial Hall, both arenas, if they did all get demolished, we built one large facility. In Calgary and Vancouver, a lot of their arenas have either a pool, which we wouldn't need, but they have a fitness facility, they have a library, they have a cafe. All of those spaces could be revenue generating that would lower the monthly cost of us having to pay for it as a city, as a taxpayer. And then it's really up to City Council to make sure that we are aggressively approaching provincial and federal governments for funding, so it reduces the burden. But if we could somehow combine those three aging structures, so you're maintaining and operating one as opposed to three, having some income leased space in them to help off the cost, that's something I would like to see.
Yeah, just in terms with the rink itself, I did see a posting today that, for the Kimberley Dynamiters game, that they've got some structural issues and it's only going to be 1,018 seats available. So we're aware. The question is whether we look at it now or wait or build a new facility. I'm like-minded. It's got history here. I'd love to see it be repaired, but how long we wait, I don't think we should wait too long. I think we have to look at those investments because the longer we wait, prices of everything's going up. It's going to cost us more if we wait. The longer we wait, the more it's going to cost, right? So we have to look at what is in there for recreation and development and that strategic plan and what is the funding looking like and how do we utilize it so we can get those repairs done. We don't take away from the season that's about to start, or can we delay the repairs until the end of the season? Because if they start it,
Thank you. This question is for Craig. Please note that it's not from me. It just says that I would like to address the elephant in the room around the lack of communication and transparency in our local government. Decisions are often made without residents' input, which has created an environment of mistrust and indifferences. When residents attempt to voice their concerns through a public hearing platform, they feel that they are not acknowledged or that nothing is resolved. How do you propose to improving our transparency and the communication between the residents and the city, as well as yourself as a council member?
There we go. Sorry about that.
It's gotta be. It's how it's gotta be.
Okay, council members, we're agreeing to be accountable, responsible, and transparent. Be progressive and proactive, ensuring that city services are efficient, effective, environmentally responsible, place the welfare of the community at large above the special interest groups. Conduct ourselves professionally and ethically. I've heard a lot about secret meetings, concerns, transparency. I haven't sat in council, I haven't sat in council as a councillor. I would like to believe that our councillors are adhering to our guidelines, our core values. That's what I would like to believe. One thing that I've run across is we're having quite a few in-camera sessions. And so the in-camera sessions are kind of like sessions that we don't want other people to hear about. They're more frequent than they used to be. Now, I get it, and there are reasons you have in-camera sessions, but they're usually about employees' wages, discipline, these sorts of things, not about, hey, how do we fix this problem in the community, or these people, are saying this, what do we do? So I guess for me, probably one thing I could add to this is just let's have less of those sessions, or let's make sure people know what they're for. And I think that will do away with some of the perceived secrecy.
Thank you. Diana, do you want to try that mic?
Oh, yeah, everybody. Look at that. Yeah, I know, honestly. It's a little switch. Yeah, I think there's some things the city does really good with transparency. I think it's awesome that you can watch council meetings at home in your pajamas on YouTube. I think the Engage Kimberley website is a really great addition. I also think that, you know, the criticisms about transparency in some regards are pretty fair. I think it can at times be hard to understand where information can be accessed. I mean, there's also sort of a variable where we don't get information in the same way. Not everyone uses social media or reads a newspaper or listens to the radio. So I think as a city, you also need to be aware of how your communication gets disseminated and all the different ways that it does. But I mean, you know, if you're not transparent, people, Craig's right, people get a little suspicious there. So I think you want to be aware of that and cognizant of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I do. Okay, so we're just going to wrap it up with one last question here for yourself, Scott. What is your vision for Kimberley over the next 5 to 10 years?
My vision for Kimberley is I keep talking about community because this is a community. I'm aging out, which I refuse to admit, but nonetheless, that's the case. I see Kimberley growing as a caring, I hate buzzwords, but a caring community with young families growing into young people. They're going to leave, they're going to come back. They're going to come back because this is the place they're from, this is the place they want to be. They're going to tell their friends in university and school, and it's going to grow in a manner such that it continues to be the kind of place we love to be, with the necessary growth and taking care of our neighbors and our friends who perhaps aren't as, and I'm by no means wealthy, doing as well financially. We don't want to chase out people of lower socioeconomic brackets. We don't want people living in huge ass, excuse my language, staff accommodation. We just want neighbors, friends, and you know, a lot of people like me, a lot of people don't. That's fine. But it's just the kind of community where you just feel welcome.
Okay, we'll go Cody and Tamara.
Yeah, and I'd just like to add on that, right? The community safety, the reason why we moved here, the location, the opportunities, right? We all moved here because we love where we live. I think a vision for the next, foreseeable future is we got to start working closer with our local communities, if that's Ackham or if that's Cranbrook, right? A lot of our major hurdles come with their hurdles as well. So I think creating an action plan with those communities. I would love to see the opportunity where we keep, our athletes, keep our educated people, keep our advanced, skilled people here in Kimberley rather than sending them to Cranbrook, sending them to other locations, right? I think it's important to build Kimberley as Kimberley again and have it as an attractant for people to come here.
I just feel that success is meeting our strategic priorities, and which is ultimately the benchmark of what our job is as a councillor. We need to remain focused on our infrastructure renewal, financial accountability, environmental protection, risk management, and economic resiliency. And I think if we continue to view the official community plan as a living document and regularly revisit it, and in so doing, we will see the successes that we're all striving for.
Since this is the last question, we'll go to William, and if anyone else would like to speak on this, they're welcome to, or give closing remarks.
Thank you. I've loved what everybody's had to say so far here tonight. It looks like we've got a really good, diverse candidacy. One of the things that I'd like to see in the next 5 to 10 years is try to have a collaboration with our college, find out what it is to take to accreditation to get more degree programs here in our own community, where our children are growing up and then they're aging out from the high school system and they're going to college, that they don't have to leave here to go to somewhere else to get their degree to come back. Let's keep them here. Let's keep them in our homes. Let's keep them in our communities where they can work, where they can get their degrees, and they can change that into living here. I'd like to see a bigger collaboration with healthcare and people like East Kootenay Addiction Services. I sit on the board of directors for them. So I'll have a beautiful collaboration with other communities, and what can we do to bring healthcare here for our young and for our seniors, and what does that look like? But I really think keeping our
Just for this last one here, let's do like a minute or two, if you don't mind, Katie, just so everyone can wrap up. William, if you want another 30 seconds to finish that, you're welcome to. If not, we can move on to Deanna, Craig, and then around.
Well, I just want to say, first of all, thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you for coming and listening and posing those questions. The questions that came forward from both you and Chamber of Commerce, that they were robust and they were had us thinking. One of the things that I would ask, though, I see about 100 people in this room, and voting is important. Go and tell the people who weren't here about the debate and about the candidacies, and make sure when you go to those polls that you encourage people to go to those polls and vote for the person who you think will fill the best position on council. I'd love to say, hey, all my friends are going to vote for me and that's going to get me the position, and I might be shooting myself in the foot, but the reality is, you want someone who's going to be robust, who's going to bring new ideas, who's going to bring some other visions and work with council. Vote for the person that you think is going to sit well on council and not just your friend or your family member. It's really important that we have the right people in place to continue to do the work. And I'm hoping for your vote because I'm ready to go to work for you. Thank you.
Okay, we'll just go around. If anyone else, just in order here. Any closing remarks, you're welcome to.
Okay, well, I'd like to thank everyone here, right? This is the opportunity for you guys, right? Yes, we stepped up to be public figures, but we're here to listen to you guys and be your voice at the end of the day. Just a little bit of a close notes of who I am, what I'm doing here right now, and how I can maybe help. Like I mentioned before, I'm a father. I got 3 young kids. I run an electrical company as a master electrician, both commercial and in light industrial. I have a bachelor in tourism with a major in recreation with decades of experience. The question is why I want to help. I want to be the voice of reason for the future of Kimberley and the Valley, to take the residents' insight, knowledge, and to build a place that is safe and attractive. The passion and drive I have is to develop the youth opportunities and secure those facilities for generations to come, make a community not a good place to be, but a safe place to be. What am I doing right now to assist in that? I'm supporting KMHA through the coaching. I'm assisting in school programs. I'm involved in attractions like the Underground Railway and the maintenance yards. I'm being a steward of our lands, managing community connections in Cranbrook and Ackham, and understanding Kimberley and what it has to offer and what it has gone through. The vision for myself for Kimberley is a destination for specialties, self-investment, greener initiatives, and securing and utilizing existing infrastructure. The hard work I'm willing to do is to free up lost revenues, tax-based development strategies, demographic shifts, and food scarcity, community sustainability. I'm your voice for now and for the future and for yesterday. I believe as a resident, you have a great opportunity to be heard at the table with someone that supports you. I thank our candidates here tonight, and I'm excited, if not for me, it'll be one of you. Thank you.
As a councillor, As a councillor, my responsibility lies with governance and not city operations. I feel that addressing the key priorities of the city is the commitment that I am going to be making. I believe that council provides direction to staff based on the priorities we have for the community, and by keeping our focus directed at these priorities, we can strategically move forward in planning and forecasting for the future. Kimberley's economically secure future relies on the decisions we make today and the priorities that we execute. If elected, I commit to having an open mind when it comes to voting on staff recommendations. I will express a willingness to listen to other opinions and to respectfully debate issues for which I have strong feelings. I will use my own powers of persuasion to advocate for the direction that I feel will be of the most benefit to the entire community. Finally, in closing, I urge you to vote. And if you have some spare time, I invite everyone to come to my free barbecue on Saturday at Tamarack Cannabis Boutique at 11. Or if you're more inclined, I'm having a wine and cheese evening on Tuesday at 2J's Cafe. Thank you.
Perfect. Finally, just at the end. Thank you to the Kimberley Chamber of Commerce for hosting this evening. And I'd also like to thank Jocelyn and Andrew for moderating, Katie for timekeeping, and I'd like to thank my fellow candidates for your passion and for our community and sharing your perspectives. I'd also like to thank all of you for coming out this evening. I realize it can be challenging to engage people in the democratic process at the best of times, let alone for a midterm by-election for a single councillor seat. So thank you for showing up, all of you tonight, for coming here to demonstrate your commitment to Kimberley and to ensure you're casting your vote for someone whose values align with your own. The things that are the most important to me is that Kimberley has development that is thoughtful, a small business community that is thriving, and it is a safe and vibrant place to be. I will say this again. If there is a strength that Kimberley has, it is that Kimberley is full of people who care about this community and choose to live here. It is our biggest strength. People choose to set up their businesses here. People choose to raise their families here. People choose to retire here. People choose Kimberley. Like no other community I have ever lived in my life, people choose Kimberley. And what a powerful thing for a community to have. People are what make a community great, and people who care about their community make their community better. People who care are why we have festivals and events. People who care are why we have a rainbow crosswalk. People who care are why we have an adventure park and a pump track. All those things happened because people who cared about their community, this community, got together and identified a way to make it just a little bit better. That is a community that I want to be a part of, and that is a community that I want to serve. Thank you, everyone.
Time's up.
So aggressive.
Well, if I'm elected, I'm looking forward to working collaboratively, transparently, and thoughtfully with existing council. I think that the people on council are gems. I think if we can put our heads together working in the right direction or in the same direction, we'll achieve fantastic results. The end of my introduction looks something like this. It said, you know, that if I'm elected, I will be checking my bags, my agenda, and my preconceived ideas at the door, and I'm going to work for all of you. And I'm also going to be representing the people who love Kimberley and may have quieter voices.
Thank you all for coming, and thank you for moderating. I really appreciate this opportunity I've been given. If elected, my role is to represent the people who elected me and the people who didn't vote for me equally well. My role is to advance what the citizens of the city want, while realizing that sometimes we have to do things that aren't what we would really like to do, as in perhaps fund something we don't want to. My role or my belief in this is simple. Safe, clean streets, neighborliness, community, care of our existing infrastructure, thoughtful development of both municipal infrastructure and the city at large, and most important, just keeping the character and personality of our community as close as it can be for as long as it can be, because I choose to live here. I'm stealing that line, and as did we all, and it's just a fabulous place to be, and let's just keep it fabulous in the future. Thank you.
All right, I'll just end with a closing statement as well. So again, like everybody has said, thank you very much for being here tonight. Whether or not I get your vote, I encourage you to vote. Make sure you encourage your friends, your family, and your colleagues to vote. It is the most important thing that we can do for our town. I'll be honored to give back to my community, the place that I've called home, basically my whole life. And even when I lived away, I was back every second I could get to visit. So my job every day at work is to listen and to dissect what people's wants, needs are, and to get them there on budget, on time. So my job is to do that for you as the citizens, but also maybe to help the council members when they're coming to a decision to really listen, because sometimes what people think they want and need is sometimes the opposite, because they don't actually realize without the proper guidance. So I look forward to working for you, and on behalf of everybody here, I'd like to say have a good night.
I just wanted to thank everyone for coming and just let you know that advanced voting will be available at Centennial Hall on Wednesday, September 11th between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. and then again on Wednesday, September 18th from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The general voting day is September 21st. Again, it will take place at Centennial Hall between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes it. Thank you all for attending, and thank you to our candidates. Have a good night.